GM friends, thanks for joining DeFi-Logic Symposium Sunday, every Sunday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. As a member of our Discord server, you can join our call every week and discuss in real time. Link is in the description below. Giveaway for the ETH trading strategy on Astrobit produced 3 winners, and they were announced today in the Discord server. ETH strategy is now live on Astrobit 2.0, and our Bitcoin and Doge strategies are in beta testing. In today's community call, we'll review weekly market callbacks with Eddie, to cut or not to cut interest rates with GeForce, and an analysis of Arweave and their token AR. And let's get started. Over to you, Eddie.
Hey guys, I wanted to look back at Pat. We were watching this little triangle forming throughout the week. It ended up breaking down. It did give a short entry if you were looking for one. I shorted, but I didn't short this coin, but just pointed out so that you can hopefully learn. So there's several of them that it gave. The easy is you just the retest after the breakdowns. You broke down, you had hourly closes below, and then it retested, you would short that. And then what I usually do though is I play the market structure, which is right here. Lines up around the same area because you got the hourly close below at the same time as a hourly close below the triangle, and then it retested right around the same area. A lot of times I'll look for these little order blocks to get in. So it definitely gave plenty of opportunities to get short if you wanted to, but I didn't play it. Instead, I'm just getting fills here. So I'm currently long on this. I'm fine to just fill it all the way through this box. Hopefully we catch a little bottom on it, but pretty nice SR. It's been strong. And if Ethereum can pump, I think this will pump better. So that's all for now.
Thank you, Eddie. And we'll kick it over to GeForce and cover his write-up about cutting interest rates.
Thanks, Christine. So everybody in the legacy markets have 2 things that they're talking about. The first is interest rates. Is the Fed bank, the Federal Reserve Bank, going to cut interest rates this year? And if they do, it's got pushed back instead of the June meeting. The probability of being cut would be September, right before the election. So the write-up for Stock Saturday was to cut or not to cut. That is the question. And everybody wants that to happen. Traders want that to happen. They're thinking that September would be a good time, but the thing is that most people, including Citadel's Ken Griffith, Citadel is a private equity fund that is one of the top in the world. It's second to Bridgewater Capital. So it's significant. And Ken Griffin said that the Federal Reserve is going to have to stay higher for longer. There's a quote that he did here, it was only a couple of weeks ago, that they're going to have to bring inflation down over time, but he did a little side-off quote that said the Federal Reserve Bank needs to break the back of inflation. That was a little bit more intense or a little bit more straightforward. He said, the other thing too is that the Federal Bank is going to need to do this longer, like I said, and that the US government is spending money like a drunken sailor. So that's his view. And we look at what the traders want is a cut. So that's a contradiction. Ken Griffith wants more increase in rates and the traders want a cut. So that's the major topics that are going on. But what's going to boil things is basically the election. I'm going to talk about the election in the sense that the election trumps everything. So right here is the last part of the write-up that I did, that the election year trumps all economic priorities, which means that even though the Federal Reserve Bank shouldn't cut rates, that they should increase rates, that they're going to stay on pause and possibly cut rates because of the election, because they want to appear neutral, that they're not basically endorsing one candidate over another. So what is also helping the traders is that the Dow Jones basically hit and closed above 40,000 on Friday. It closed at 40,003 points, and that is going to boil, and I think it's going to make things even more for traders. They're going to want to keep pushing things up, and the election is a major factor. I'm looking at those things, and the reason why the market is going up, the second point is that AI, the issue everybody's talking about, is AI is going to increase GDP in the US within the next 3 to 5 years, 5% a year. So that's why the markets are always forward-looking, and they're looking at as well. So that's why the Dow Jones hit 40,000, NASDAQ is up, and S&P 500 is above 5,300. Okay, thanks, Christine. That's it for my piece, and we'll talk later.
Thank you, GeForce. Great coverage as always. If you enjoy our content, give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more crypto trading and overall market content. Next up is an analysis of Arweave, which is a permanent storage capability project, and their token AR. Trill and Fla, I'll hand it over to you.
All right, so I'll go ahead and start off with the price and tokenomics of Arweave. So currently it's at 48.20, market cap of a little over 3 billion, and then fully diluted valuation is the same as the total supply and circulating supply are currently both at the same amount. And I think the price was around 30 something when it was mentioned in the server just a couple weeks ago before we decided to report on it. Base Cowboy had pointed out and asking what people had thought about it. And yeah, it was floating around 30, maybe a little bit less. The all-time high was 89.24, which was November 2021, so about 2.5 years ago. And then the all-time low was January 2020 at 29 cents. So it's had a pretty significant increase over the last few years, price-wise. And basically, what Arweave is, it's a permanent storage solution. So it's similar to what a lot of cloud providers currently do, like Amazon, AWS, Microsoft Azure, and the Google Cloud platform. So they also offer storage solutions. The only difference is when you're renting the storage space from them, you don't technically own the data. It's being stored on their project. So if you just stop paying, then your data pretty much goes away or gets deleted. So there's a risk, or even if you do pay, there was an incident just, I think it was a couple weeks ago. It was an Australian pension fund or retirement fund where they had all their data stored on the Google Cloud provider, which due to some configure mishap, they ended up deleting all of their data. Thankfully, they had an on-prem backup, so they were able to restore the data. But so that's one thing that Arweave could help potentially solve, is just put your data back into your own hands. And they do offer a few different models, as you can see here. So Accord is their data storage solution. So they have a few different plans. They have a free plan, which starts off, you get a 1 gigabyte for free of cloud storage, and then permanent storage is $12 per gigabyte. And they have $7 plan, which includes 200 gigabytes. There's the secure cloud storage, which is similar to what a lot of the cloud providers provide as well. And then they have the permanent storage, which is obviously going to be a little bit more expensive, but there's no fear of your data getting accidentally deleted. Even if you stop paying for it, it's still going to be there. So if you stop paying for it for a month or 2 months, it's not going to get deleted or removed. If you do the cloud storage, then you run the risk of the data getting deleted, obviously, if you don't pay for it. And Arweave is basically the first protocol that enables permanent data storage, and it's designed so that you can preserve data forever with a single one-time fee. And it's pretty much an entire blockchain secured by miners who store and replicate the data in exchange for the AR tokens. So the miners get paid out in AR tokens for storing and replicating the data. And then they have what's called the permaweb, which is basically their kind of form of the World Wide Web, but it's used for different pages and applications that exist permanently that are hosted on the Arweave blockchain. And I'm sure Trill will get a little bit more further into that. But one thing you can do besides just data storage is you can also launch your own applications that are available permanently. So if we look here at the Arweave list, it just has some of the available projects and applications. So there's like this one, for example, the R Academy, which is a learning platform, which was community driven, and similar. You can go on here, learn to code, design, or build with the Arweave blockchain. And then there's other ones here, such as R Connect. So it's a secure wallet management, right? So it just provides an effective way to interact with the different perma web applications. And there's a ton of other applications and services too that are also available. And if we look here, so this is the Arweave Block Explorer. So we can see all the transactions in real time, the total transactions per day, the current size, total data uploaded. So currently they've processed over 5.6 billion transactions. TPS is 285. There's over 200,000 wallet addresses currently on the Arweave blockchain. and the storage cost is sitting at about 0.749 per gigabyte. And if we look at the total data uploaded, it's showing right here. This is just showing per day, so we can see the per day amounts, and we can see a pretty significant increase from when it first launched. So if we look back here at June 2018, there was only not even megabytes being uploaded, only a few kilobytes. And then if we look more recently, there's a pretty steady flow of about 100 to 200 gigabytes per day being uploaded. So I think that we'll see a steady increase just with further adoption of blockchain technology for a lot of companies and individuals, and then just looking for alternative storage solutions rather than the centralized providers such as Amazon, Microsoft, or Google Cloud. And another thing too here, which is probably why Space Cowboy brought it up, was Arweave AO, right? So it's introducing AI models into smart contracts. So basically what they're doing is they have a testnet that they're working on to supposedly infinitely scale the blockchain for larger computational workloads. So it allows artificial intelligence and large language models to operate directly within smart contracts. So it's just one way that Arweave is implementing AI into their blockchain to further scale along their storage solution. And that's pretty much all I have. So I'm sure we'll go further in depth about the actual technological aspects of Arweave.
Yeah, Soft did touch up the major points. Arweave is a solution, just a blockchain cloud solution, and actually an interesting thing is it's like a mix of some of the functionalities from other cloud solutions, like how we have OneDrive from Microsoft as well as Azure. Azure is more so for data management or even virtual machines and things like that, where we have OneDrive, which is just for files. These are some of the capabilities that you can do with Arweave's storage, saving a file, the OneDrive capability, and then as well as the dApps like an Azure or Google Cloud capability. Arweave was founded by an individual named Sam Williams, co-founded by another individual named William Jones. It was actually founded pretty early in about 2018, although it wasn't really fully operational until about late 2020. One of these papers where they state they've only been running for about years. It's founded on this principle of fair forks. So the principle of Arweave, how Slav mentioned the miners, and there's no governance to overcome the original governance model. So it's overcomes the original blockchain functionality as far as transaction processing, because we're not mentioning how fast they can transfer a transaction in comparison to Visa or anything like that. Arweave's functionality is storage as well as using proof of access, which is what they do to overcome what they feel like was a flaw with the governance model. Using proof of access, so the miners, like Slav stated, they secure the blockchain, verifying replicating the data that's already on there. It's one of these papers. In fact, like how the incentives work is the miners that can prove that they have replicated more of the data, a higher likelihood of being the next miner up to mine the next block. There's three main components of Weave. Is something called the block weave. I also mentioned the permaweb, and then their consensus mechanism, which is virtual access that I mentioned earlier. Permaweb, that's also, that I also stated earlier, was basically how they save apps or dApps, or have dApps that are permanently on the blockchain. The block weave is a little bit how the proof of access works, and it really just means that the current block is connected to the previous block as well as a random block before it. So that's like how they provide that's how you would gain access to your data. One miner is connected to a previous block as well as another random block. Like I said, it's not meant to be the fastest as far as bringing you your data, but you don't necessarily care as far as like being the super fastest when you want to preserve your data, which is their market. There are three principles they have here. This is what they're founded on: permanently securing the world's knowledge using blockchain, ensuring the right to speech, which is the low fees to overcome the subscription service that you have with Azure or AWS, and then guaranteeing the right to listen, which is putting it on a public blockchain. Another interesting thing about Arweave is, like I mentioned, with the proof of access and with the ecosystem, is actually the ecosystem themselves and the other projects help secure the blockchain using, as long as the new project adhere to these principles, their project is able to obtain rewards from the Arweave pool. Oh yeah, another definitely major thing I wanted to mention was Arweave has been integrated in definitely a lot of major companies. Actually was announced being used in Meta with their Instagram NFTs. This was likely part of the reason for its longevity. It's been supported by companies like Coinbase and being used by companies like Instagram. It tackles a different market as far as the application of blockchain, and it's also being used by very major companies. As far as the longevity of Arweave, there's definitely potential. It's a cloud solution provider. It may not be something that's going to be used for super confidential information, but as far as tackling the issues that you, like Sloth mentioned, that you have with Microsoft or Google or AWS, if you don't pay your subscription, doesn't matter how many files you have on there, you're not getting them back. With Arweave, they overcome that with the payment model that Sloth mentioned, as well as it's on the blockchain, so it is there forever.
Yeah, or even if you do pay it, like I said, that article I'd mentioned, which is in the write-up too, with that Australian pension fund who got their data deleted. So even if you do pay it, you still run the risk since you're entrusting it to a third party.
Yeah, basically with the point of Arweave putting it on the blockchain, the concept of the blockchain, it's immutable, it's there forever, and mixing that with data that you likely want to have forever, that's the market that Arweave wants to tackle, a cloud solution provider with permanent data at a more reasonable price than most other cloud providers.
Yeah, or could also think about like the Wayback Machine, right? That's supposed to archive the internet. So I guess it's also like an alternative for that, because it's just going to obviously just live on the blockchain forever. So you can compare it to the Wayback Machine somewhat.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a sleeper of a project a little bit, where they're picking up different companies that are actually utilizing their features and what they're bringing to the market, and where they're trying to make an impact is really important. It's not going to go away. So I like this project, guys. I'm going to be reading more about it. Great coverage, answered loads of my questions right away. Sloth and Trill, thank you so much. And that's it for this week. Join our server now. Early members get free server access for life and future discounts on additional products and services. See you next Symposium Sunday. GN friend.
Join us next week in Discord for Symposium Sunday at DeFi-Logic.com.